Laura Newsberg's interview this morning on BBC One was interesting. In fact, her entire programme was very interesting, and we'll come back to it later on with a little bit more analysis. But her first guest was Dominic Raab, looking at his most affable, even cracking a smile. And he was there ostensibly to talk about the Northern Ireland, the progress on the Northern Ireland Protocol. He says we're getting there, but it won't be done until it's done, and so on. He also says that MPs will be given a chance to express themselves. He's simply repeating what the Prime Minister's already said. He's not going off script there. Ministers, members of Parliament expressing themselves. Well, in what sort of way? We know that some members of Parliament have expressed themselves. Boris Johnson did it on a sofa. Matt Hancock has expressed himself, I don't know, in a sort of moving stationery cupboard. And so is this the sort of expression that we're expecting when the Northern Ireland Protocol deal is struck? Is that the sort of expression that we're expecting? Or is there another expression? It's a very strange and ambiguous term. The members of Parliament will have an opportunity to express themselves vocally. I don't know. And then Raab is asked the key question, because this is the point. Raab cannot do his real job. Raab wants to come on to an interview and talk about Northern Ireland, but the only question that anybody else wants to ask him is whether or not he's a bully. And he says, no. He says, no, I'm confident. He said when he goes home at night, he's confident that he hasn't raised his voice or behaved in an inappropriate way. I'm confident I've behaved professionally throughout, he says to Laura. And he then goes on to add that he's got zero tolerance for bullying. Well, he may have zero tolerance for bullying, but does everybody else? It seems at the moment that the Prime Minister, the previous Prime Minister, has tolerated quite a lot of bullying. Boris Johnson, we know, doesn't have a zero tolerance of bullying. He tolerated Priti Patel. She was demonstrably, apparently, a bully, and he tolerated her. So the idea that the Conservative Party and this government has zero tolerance for bullying is not true. Dominic Raab may be an exception. Let's wait and see what happens. But at the moment, this is the problem. He cannot do his job because the only thing we're interested in is whether or not Dominic Raab is a bully. And do we believe what he says? If we don't believe what he says about bullying, do we believe what he says about Northern Ireland? The whole thing is questionable, while Dominic Raab has this sword of Damocles hanging over him. It needs to be resolved. It needs to be resolved quickly. And even if it's resolved in his favour, would we believe it? Would we?